Does Yanga believe she's living in her purpose?
I'm definitely living in my purpose. We are in a relationship now, year 3, and now I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving. It's either you propose or I'm leaving. I didn't want that. That was just weird. So I decided that I would let him know, like from the beginning, before we both decided that this is what we want. Here are my expectations. Here is where I draw the line, and yeah.
Would you say you have those convictions because of your faith?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, also, abstaining is not easy. I wanted to sing gospel music. They wanted me to sing maybe they wanted me to sing gospel music, yes, but in a different sound, in a different way. I wanted to go the
contemporary.
Yeah, the contemporary route. And so it didn't align. So that's basically why I left.
I don't know how this happens. Like, Uyanga is like God's favorite child. She gets 1 million before she's 18. She gets a car before she's 18.
But
she's engaged at 21, 22.
I'm
she's
not engaged
married
at 21 and 22
She's married.
either.
Go can she?
How I wish.
You're not God's favorite child. I think you are.
No, I am. I
Absolutely.
am. I
You need to
definitely
own that,
am.
right?
Yeah. We are all God's favorite children.
True.
Yeah.
Younger, how's your heart today?
I'm okay. I was just slightly nervous.
Yeah.
Because conversations make me nervous, especially planned ones.
Sure.
Yeah, but I think I'm excited to be here. I've seen the episodes. I've seen the podcast. You guys are doing an incredible job.
Cool. Yeah.
So I'm happy to be here.
Now, introduced to you as Yanga Sobetwa.
Yes.
I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Sobetwa.
Yes. It's Khoza, ne?
Yes.
To being a Khoza. Khoza is Zulu.
It's Tsonga, actually.
It's Tsonga.
Yes.
I was just about to say, welcome home.
No, there are two Khozas. There's a Tsonga Khoza and
Yeah.
there's a Zulu Khoza. So I'm married to a Tsonga Khoza family.
To a Tsonga Khoza family.
Yes.
You definitely feel blessed, I'm sure.
Yes, I do.
Feel absolutely chosen by God to be trusted with building a family, because essentially that's what marriage is.
True.
Is it not overwhelming though that I'm so young?
I don't think the age is the problem for me. I think it's just the readiness.
Okay.
Because I think marriage, according to the Bible, it's all about dying to self. Dying to self, Jay, as a single lady, single woman, person,
Dying
is
to
already
self
difficult.
as a human being and letting God take over is...
It's already difficult. So having to die to self to serve someone else is even more difficult. Now when children are added, what? What do you mean? So it's definitely a huge challenge, I think. But God has really blessed me with community, blessed us with community. And I think community really makes the biggest difference for me. Yeah.
I don't think anybody has explored this side of you that is in love.
Never, ever, ever!
Where do you meet this amazing man?
We met in Pretoria. I was living in Joburg at the time, and I went to a concert show of an acquaintance. And then when I got there, I met him. At the time, nothing really happened. We met thrice.
Yeah,
thrice before we had a conversation. Yeah, that's how we met.
So the first time you meet at a show, how does he introduce himself? I want the deets.
He didn't introduce himself. So I heard on the credits at the end of the show where they were thanking everyone. So they're like, oh, thank you to White Wall Media, Ntsako, for the stream, what. And then because at the end of the show when everyone now was striking down, packing up to leave, there were some people that I knew as friends that were singing there. So then I stayed and I greeted everyone, and he was in the midst of the people that were my friends. So I was like, oh, hey, Mr. White Wall Media. And he says he found that obnoxious. But I don't, yeah, he felt like I was kind of undermining his work. I don't know, because I didn't know him. I don't know how I would take it like that. He says he was tired. Maybe that's why he took it that way. But that was it, really, on that day where we met for the first time.
How does then the conversation move on to we need to meet again?
I don't know if you know Serenity. There's a girl group called Serenity. So they were the ones backing at this concert at that day. And then eventually it was their birthday. I got an invite to go to their birthday. He was also there. We went, had fun, and then we played 30 Seconds. 30 Seconds was what what connected us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Intellectually?
Intellectually, I don't know. Yes, intellectually, energetically,
I hear you.
Vibically. It was like, oh, you're a really cool person. He was the only person who spoke his Khoza in the room. So, like, while we were playing the game, like, some Khoza came out and my Khoza came out. I was like, oh, okay, so you're a really cool person. That's how then we kind of connected. And then he eventually heard me sing, because Serenity is a girl group that sings. We can't come together and not sing. We eventually sang, and he then had like a program that he was running on White Wall Media, which is his company, where he would invite singers to come sing. And then he invited me to that. He asked for my number, invited me to that, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, why are you asking for my number? And he sounded so professional. So nothing in me thought, oh, he likes me.
Maybe.
But also I was going through a heartbreak at the time. It wasn't cute, so yeah. And then from there, I met him at his home, where then we did the episode, and then he started being weird. He started being weird, like playing with my makeup brushes on my face, just doing weird things. Like, we went from being so professional to you playing with my makeup brushes on my face. And I was like, no, we're not there yet. What's going on? We've never been there. And then eventually he invited me to stuff. And I just went along. And eventually the true colors came out. But, oh, you like me.
You like me like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're going through a heartbreak, so why are you saying yes to these invites?
It wasn't like, I didn't take it as a romantic thing, because also, I don't know if anyone knows, he's a year younger than me. So at the time, I didn't look at him as like a potential suitor. I didn't. I just looked at him as a brother, like a younger brother. I didn't look at him that way. But then eventually, the more we went to these things together, it kind of became evident that I think there's something happening here.
Without going into too much detail, why were you heartbroken?
Because of a boy. I'm not going to talk about him.
What else could it have been?
I'm healed now. Thank you, Lord. Would be weird to be married and not healed.
Absolutely. Perhaps he was sent to facilitate the healing.
I think he played a big role in the healing process, He did play a big role.
God is a mastermind.
And he's very intentional.
Very, very intentional.
Yeah.
How far into the relationship does marriage talk come in?
From the beginning. I don't play like that. No. I don't play like that. It's like, I just told him, my brother, you have about 2 years to
get yourself in order.
And it was like a conversation, like before we even said yes, like in the talking stage, because I wanted to set my boundaries clear.
The precedent must be set.
And set expectations, manage expectations from both sides. So now I didn't want it to be a thing of, we are in a relationship now, year 3, and now I'm like, I'm leaving. It's either you propose or I'm leaving. I didn't want that. It was, that was just weird. So I decided that I would let him know, like from the beginning, before we both decided that this is what we want, that yeah, here are my expectations. Here is where I draw the line, and yeah,
Would you say you have those convictions because of your faith?
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
It's like, this is what my faith prescribes me to do. If you're going to get into a relationship with me, it's either
Sure.
this or...
Yeah, I mean, also, abstaining is not easy. Abstaining is not easy, women and men of God. So you gotta do that for yourself. Yeah, I don't see how people can date for a long, long time and still do it in a godly way.
Sure,
Because if you
sure.
want to do it in a godly way, then I mean, there has to be like a set time and set expectations, and most of all intentionality. Yeah, to where you guys are going. It won't just magically happen.
Since we're there, what does godly dating look like? Because many people who are in the faith are confused. They
Yeah.
don't know how to transition from single to married without dating. Because dating, we've been taught...
Sorry.
No probs. Dating, we've been taught, is where we learn human beings.
Sure.
And it is irresponsible to jump from single to married. We can't encourage that. But what does godly dating then look like?
Look, I'm not an expert. I'm only married once. It's my first time. It will be my last time ever. I can't tell you what exactly it is, but I can tell you what mine looked like, and what our pastor was advising us. So godly dating is more like a courtship more than dating. The intention for us in the beginning was to do it God's way the whole way. Yes, well, we did do it God's way the whole way, but there were a couple of failures there and there. But we eventually got on track because of community. I think the one thing that stands out for me when we speak about godly dating is community. I don't think it is possible to do relationships God's way outside of community. So if you're going to have your little relationship there in the corner that no one knows about in secret that you've agreed with a guy, it's probably not gonna work out. But if you make sure that you expose whatever it is to a safe space and safe community, then there is so much more opportunity for it to thrive. That's kind of what's coming to mind.
You're
Right
basically
now.
saying that if you involve community, accountability partners,
Yes, exactly.
as a couple who's trying to date the godly way, which involves abstaining,
Yeah.
which involves having boundaries,
Yes.
which involves making God the center of your
Yeah.
relationship more than anything. You need to make sure the people who love you, who are on the same path, are there to keep you accountable.
Definitely. So for us, my husband joined Muso Church before I did. So we go to Muso. And eventually I joined as well. And the moment we joined, our pastors realized that, oh, this might be a couple thing. And they were like, oh, hi, what's going on here? And we were like, oh, we're dating. We're dating. And they were like, yeah. So we had advised that you guys choose a couple. No one is going to choose for you. You guys will pick a couple that you will journey with in your journey. So that couple then became our accountability. For us, we didn't have just one couple. We had a couple of couples that we were journeying with. And for me, you know, it's the whole community thing I didn't get. I was like, why is my business being known by everyone? Why is it now that when we can't figure things out on our own,
We involve other people.
involve other people? Why is my business out there? And I think also being in the limelight made me feel even more
Vulnerable.
conscious and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd feel like, oh, no, we'll figure it out. Let's talk it out. But eventually you would see that this thing is not going to work out. We do need perspective. We do need accountability. We do need people to journey with us, people to listen to us when we're frustrated with each other. So, yeah.
How does fame contribute in this godly dating? Does it negatively affect your relationship, or it's neither here nor there?
For me, it does. I think it does contribute, especially in how I carry myself in public. Yeah, I think especially in how we carry ourselves in public, because I really didn't want people to know that I'm dating anyone. Because if you see him on my social media, I've never like
he rocked up in a wedding suit.
Exactly. I've never posted anything.
Yeah.
I actually just wanted to post like maybe a year after getting married. But because I'm in a church, obviously everyone is there, maspagamiswa and things like that. So it definitely did affect. I think it affected it in a good way because it encouraged me to live a life publicly and privately that glorifies God.
Come on.
Yeah. So I think it affected it in a good way.
Speaking of Muso Church, it's a church that God is using a lot in this season to change lives through music, through ministry. And there is a big song that you led for them, Jesuntekane. How did that song come about, and did you feel a shift in the direction that your career was taking when that song came out?
I'll answer the
latter question.
The latter, then the former. I think it was a, manifestation. I don't like that word because it's like perverted now.
Confirmation?
It was not a confirmation, but it was basically what I saw happening.
Okay.
It was what I thought what I thought wanted to happen. What I wanted to happen, yes. Yeah. What I imagined happening, and it was then what I saw physically come to life. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is definitely something I've always wanted to do, singing gospel music, because not necessarily because, I mean, it's who I am. It just makes sense for me to sing for the Lord and sing for his people as well. And so how the song came about was my Pastor Koketso, his mom, who is his grandmother, but ukulenayo, so he would call her his mom. She was then sick, fatally sick, and eventually there was a situation where he went to the hospital and they basically told him, she's not gonna make it at all. Just prepare for her funeral, basically. And at the time, he was driving home, I think. I don't know the exact details, but he was driving home and he just started hearing Jesu und Gan.
Yeah. How has your Christian faith, or rather your relationship with God, contributed to the Yanga that we know?
Oh, it's everything. It's contributed in everything. I think I would not be who I am if it wasn't for the Lord. I think I would not be, the personality, the character that I have, the stages I've been on. None of this would be if it wasn't for the Lord Jesus. Like, all of my faith has contributed to it. And I think living my pastor always says that no one is called to live a small life. Everyone was called to live a big life, because the Bible says, be fruitful and multiply, subdue the earth. You know,
have dominion over it.
Dominion, yeah. So I've grown up always as a very ambitious person from childhood. Growing up with my family, I was the one person who did what no one did. I hosted concerts at malls outside. I approached my school when they were doing their first fashion show, and I was like, actually, don't you guys want a live band for this? And I was always outside. I was always thinking outside of the box. I've always been a young and ambitious person. And I think my faith contributes to that mainly, because if it wasn't for that, I don't think there would be a reason other than just for fun.
There's a young person right now who's watching this. Both you and I are young. And he's like, why are they so into God? Why are they so into this faith thing? Why are they reminding us about the relationship that they have with Jesus so much? I just want to make my songs. I just want to have fun. I just want to sing. Actually, I clicked on this video because I wanted to see my favorite artist. Why, as a young person, is having a relationship with God so pivotal?
Oh, it's so pivotal. I don't think only just for young people, but specifically for young people. How can a young man keep himself? And it says through obeying the word of God, through, and that's a manifestation. It can come as in different ways. And the Bible also says that if I be lifted up, this is now God saying, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto myself. And so I think we have passions, we have desires, we have gifts, and it's all good and well. But we also want the numbers at the same time. We also want the success, but it will never come in a way that builds you, the person, builds the audience as well, if you don't do it in a way that lifts the Lord up. You'll end up sacrificing either yourself or the integrity of your ministry, the integrity of what it is that you're doing, to get the numbers, to get the success. We've heard a lot of stories out there of people who have compromised their integrity, they've what's this, compromised so much just for the numbers. And so I think having the Lord, having Jesus as a young person is very, very important, because it gives you purpose. It gives you direction. It gives you vision as well. You're not just aimlessly walking in the earth.
Rootedness.
Yeah, you're also very rooted and grounded. And so I think it's very, very important for every single young person to have a relationship with the Lord.
How do people in your industry compromise themselves to attain a certain level of success?
I've seen a couple of weird things happened in my industry. And I think, you know what I'm saying is not to throw judgment or
Sure.
to make anyone feel less than, or it's not me casting the first stone, because I think if you don't have a relationship with the Lord, there is nothing else you're going to do but be outside of what it is that you're supposed to be in any case.
Got you.
I mean, I don't mean this as in like talent or in your singing, in your gifting, or there's nothing that we do as human beings that makes us good, or to earn the goodness of God, to earn success, it is all by the grace of God. Please remind me of your question.
What are people doing in your industry where they are compromising themselves so much because they want the success?
So you see, oh my Lord, I don't want to talk about the people of God, but a couple of things that I've seen, that I've heard. I've heard of some stories where people have to sleep their way up. They don't have to, but they end up sleeping their way up. People compromise. The integrity of their finances, like being corrupt in a sense. For example, we did a live recording at church with Muso Worship, and there was a situation where a sponsor came, but the sponsor wanted to be weird financially.
Sure.
Yeah, wanted to be weird financially. And that was an opportunity even for us, because you must never be so confident in your flesh, thinking that you'll never be tested, and go with that confidence. But no, I've got this, But yeah, obviously we didn't go that route. And so I think a lot of opportunities, especially in this day and age, there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of corruption in this industry, and so it's just weird, man.
You are one of the people who God has journeyed you beautifully, where of course there are private moments where you feel like you failed, but for what we've seen and what we've experienced, you are one of the people who, after winning Idols, has, inverted commas, made it, right? You have been able to consistently reestablish yourself. You have been consistently be able to put out music and have it well received. You've been able to make shows, and right now you're in a position where even your private personal life has fulfillment in it, because there's just a totality of a human being who's content. Not everyone has gone through that. Not everyone has had the privilege of being able to build a career outside of the show. In your opinion, what goes wrong when people win Idols afterwards?
Sure. What goes wrong? I think it's a expectation versus reality kind of situation where you have certain expectations, certain what's this, or like someone draws a vision for you and says, no, this is what it's going to look like. Or I think also social media, the media at large has drawn a certain visual or expectation for young people to have when they make it, for what it looks like, rather than what it actually feels like. And I think what then goes wrong is what it feels like. Yes, it looks good. Yeah, like if you look at my stuff that I did while I was on Idols, the music videos, the songs, they look really good. They made the numbers, they made the charts. I did the media tours, I did the concert tours. I did it, and it looks good to the naked eye until really you're in it. I think anyone really who's been in any situation can tell you that has been perceived by someone else can tell you that it feels different while you're going through it than what it looks like. And so you find that, like, for example, you get signed into a contract, you win, you get signed into a contract, great and all. But when it comes to things being actually done, things don't go the way that they are supposed to go, in a sense.
Expectation again, as you said.
Sometimes things don't go in the way that you agreed for them to go with your label, because also labels are a business and they're also trying to make money. Sometimes they won't be honest and let you know that I don't think this is gonna sell. Maybe sometimes they won't be honest and say, no, we don't like your type of music. Then they pivot and then they say, no, this, maybe change your entire image, but they won't say change your entire image. They'll say, no, maybe put some lipstick, maybe shorter pants, maybe a different sound. They'll do things subtly that kind of redirect you in and repackage you into what it is that they think will sell. And then you get people who resist and say, no, I don't want to be that. Then what do? They kind of shelf you, and they just put you on the side until maybe you come to the party.
Yeah.
Until you come to the party or the contract ends. Fortunately for me, when I said, can I please leave? They were like, no, it's fine, you can leave. So I think that is the biggest challenge for when people win Idols. And to the public, because we're not going to speak on these things while we're on a contract, it's going to look like I'm not trying
You're
enough.
not trying hard enough. Yeah.
It's going to look like I'm lazy, complacent, I'm complaining all the time. It's not going to look, it never looks good. Yeah, and so I will never blame anyone who has not made it, because you have different definitions of making it also, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Why did Yanga want to leave the label?
Why did I want to leave the label? I think it was the same thing for me. I wanted to sing gospel music. They wanted me to sing maybe they wanted me to sing gospel music, yes, but in a different sound, in a different way. I wanted to go the
contemporary.
Yeah, the contemporary route. And so it didn't align. So that's basically why I left.
That's interesting that you define it that way, that there's a lot of expectation and what's happening in the reality is not necessarily what you expected, and not necessarily also what people are seeing.
Yeah.
Because they could be seeing sold out tours and albums, but maybe you're only making 5% because your contract is that you only make 5% of that.
Sure.
And people are wondering, but isn't she supposed to be having a lot of money? Why doesn't her life look like she has a lot of money?
And we don't read. Yeah, we don't read. And I think it's understandable, especially with like so much excitement in the moment where you're like, oh, this is my big break. Yes, we read them there, but these contracts are so thick. Like, I don't know if you've seen a contract, a 360 contract. It's so thick. It's so much to go through, especially also, remember, I was 16. There's only so much that I know, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like, the challenge is we don't read. And if you see, I don't know if we've seen a lot of stories where a lot of artists feel trapped eventually in a label and they feel like they need to leave, and they write on newspapers, they write to newspapers, they are on social media speaking about it. And I think it's essentially because we don't read. And I think also, yabona Lando, of being in a relationship with someone who has red flags, but you're like, no, but they buy me flowers, you know? No, but they... But, he bought me a car. So it's almost that type of thing. I'm not going to say it's abusive, no, but they are definitely, like, written down red flags in the contracts. But we are too excited.
Such as?
With the advances. We are too excited with the money, with the tours, with the merch, the money that comes with the merch, with all of those things. And being on stage, just for me, is fulfilling.
Yeah.
For me, for example, I had never had an opportunity to be on a professional stage before Idols. And so that in its own is just exciting. So you can imagine the other things that are added on top. They are a complete distraction to the things that are written on that contract.
I spoke to Mr. Music over 2.5 years ago, and one of his grievances was that it feels like you go so far, you get signed on, only to be forgotten about.
Yeah, it's like you went 10 steps forward and then 10 million steps backwards. Yeah, but in the public, it looks like you are there.
Yeah. There are people, though, who've come out and blamed the production outright for their failure, because that's how they've labeled it. Is it fair to blame the production?
To be honest, I don't know their story. So it would be weird for me to speak on their story, and I don't even have a reference of who those people are. But I think there is a level of, in any failed relationship, there is a level of accountability both ways.
I hear you.
And I think, yes, we can only control, we can't control what other people do. We can control our actions. When we see things failing, maybe let's pivot and try something else. Try connecting with other people, try YouTube, try TikTok, the beautiful thing is, in our day and age, there are so many other alternatives.
Also, in closing this topic, you mentioned something as a 360 contract for education purposes. What does that mean?
It's a do I even remember? If anyone remembers, if I left any details out in the comment section, please write it down.
Sure.
I'll comment if I leave something out. A 360 contract is basically, it's a binding contract. Like, there's, for example, my contract. I'll speak on my contract rather. My contract, I had to give them, I think, 4 or 5 albums, and I was signed for that period until I am done with those albums. Yes. You are signed. The licensing is done by them. The distribution is done by them. Every single thing that you do, also, I'm not allowed to do any music that they don't approve of. Any feature, anything whatsoever. If they don't approve, I can't do it. I can't
release it.
I can't go record by myself and release the music. I'm literally bound to, I hand over permission basically to them for anything that I want to do that gives me money.
Anything,
merch,
performing. Let's say somebody calls you privately and says, please perform in my wedding.
Exactly, yes.
Like a wedding performance you couldn't do without telling the label.
Not necessarily telling the label, but there's money that they get. If they say you're not going there, you are not going there.
If they say, like, it's not brand fit, you can't be seen performing at weddings.
Yes, then it won't happen. But it wasn't the case for me. Yeah. But it's a very tight, I would never advise anyone to go sign a 360 contract.
Yeah.
Ever.
A bit about your childhood. Before you were 16 and became a star overnight, what was Yanga doing at 12, 13 when other kids are playing and adolescence, high school is trapping them?
What was I doing? Tiza, I'm such a typical church girl. Like, there's nothing interesting. I was at church all the time. What my week looked like is Monday, school, rugby. I was playing rugby at school.
Rugby?
Yeah, I was playing rugby.
You're so
And
tiny.
here's the kicker. I was the only girl in a boys' team.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you get that? You don't get it.
That means you
I
were so
was
amazing.
a girl. I was a girl alone, and
Yeah.
I'm already tiny. Please
Yeah.
imagine what I looked like in high school. I was tinier than what I look now.
Sure.
And I was playing with big boys.
Yeah.
I was playing rugby. Not because I was good, but because I was trying to prove a point. That just because I'm tiny doesn't mean you should mess with me. Because tiny people are so like, people think we can bully them and things like that. So in high school, I just felt the need to always prove a point or prove myself that no, I can make it. I'm a big girl. You can't bully me. You can't, you can't touch me. And I would go to choir practice. Choir practice, Bible study at church, and then Sundays, church. That's what my childhood looked like. After church, we'd all chill at home, cook, idols, watching idols. Literally, we grew up watching idols with my family. It would be like our bonding
moment.
Yeah, our moment every week. And then eventually I joined a group called Yo Gym. It's not a group, it's a movement. So my mom and I always fought over going to Yo Gym. Yo Gym is like a movement, so I'd go to it every after church on Sundays. And it was the one place where I felt I could express myself. It was like church, but for young people. Like everything was run by people my age, basically. So it was my outlet. And it's the one place that introduced me to a band, to singing with other singers, to be able to back other singers, to be able to practice kind of leading in front of a crowd. So that's what my childhood looked like. At some point I entered a competition that was like grade 3, and eventually for some reason I won that competition. I could sing, but I was really, really nervous, and my voice cracked the whole time. I was not supposed to win, but the people that won were like, no, we don't want this winning. We want her to win. It was crazy, like, just to show that the favor of God has always been following me.
Right. Fast forward to now. How does fame, faith, just your personality and your character as a whole, how do you navigate friendships? Are they easy?
Friendships are not easy. No. They are not easy. No, they are not easy. And I think friendships are even more heartbreaking because most friendships, I mean, typically you'd have friendships that start from high school to maybe your teenagehood, and then you get that 1 or 2 friends that you are consistently close with and you'd like to grow up always being close with and go into your adulthood being close with. And so sometimes things don't always work out, and sometimes things don't work out over things that I perceive as really minuscule. But again, we can't, sometimes saying that kind of feels like you're invalidating someone else's pain or hurt and things like that. So I think, friendships aren't easy, especially as an adult with a busy life.
Do you have more or less friends than 2 years ago, per se?
I have more friends. And I never saw myself as someone having many friends. My bridesmaids, for example, at the wedding, I had like 8 bridesmaids. I could never imagine, like, if you asked me 2 years ago, I had about 2 friends, and now I have like what? More than 8 friends. And that's it's not just like acquaintances, but it's really, really good friends who I share faith, values with, morals with. And so it's actually a beautiful thing to have that type of sisterhood. It is the grace of God.
What's the importance of maintaining friendships, not just as a famous person, but anybody who's watching this? To what does it pour into a human being to have good friendships?
I think friendships again for me it goes back to community. Having community for me, this is something I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for community. And so even the friends that I have, most of them from the 8 bridesmaids that I was talking about are people that I connected with at church. Yeah, friends have brought so much life, brought so much indoni groundedness. Groundedness.
Right lapho.
Yeah. It kind of grounds me. Yeah,
Sure.
it's very grounding to have friends who can keep you in check, who can just check up on you, who you can vent to,
Can love
who
you.
who can love you, who can serve each other. I think service is such a huge thing that is so underrated in friendships because we want to always receive and we always want to receive in friendships, in relationships generally, but having friends that you can serve and serve you back is just a beautiful, beautiful thing, especially as an adult.
We're nearing the end of our conversation. Does Yanga believe she's living in her purpose?
I'm definitely living in my purpose. I think my purpose is Jesus. And if I am in Jesus, I am in purpose. That's the beautiful thing about having Jesus in your life. I don't have to be the Yanga that everyone wants me to be in purpose. I don't have to have records and hits for me to be in purpose. I don't have to have the numbers to be in purpose. I can have the numbers and not have the numbers and still be in purpose because I'm in Jesus.
Yeah.
And that is the most comforting thing for me. Yeah.
And last but not least, what does Yanga Khoza know for sure that she's absolutely certain of?
I'm certain. Hey, what am I certain of? I am certain that the Bible says that trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. I am certain that as long as my trust is fully in the Lord, He will show me success. He will show me wealth, not just monetary wealth, but rich relationships, wealthy relationships. He will show me great things as long as I fully trust Him with everything that I am, with my marriage, that's crazy to say. At 24, with my marriage, with my career, with my ministry, with my dreams and with my hopes and desires.
Yanga Khoza, God's favorite child. Thank you
so
much.
Oh, yes.
It's been an absolute privilege to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
A conversation on just trusting in the Lord with all your hearts and leaning not in your own understanding. That as a young person, famous, non-famous, you are living in purpose, moneyed, not moneyed. Whatever season you are going through, when you are trusting in God and submitting all of you to God, you are in purpose. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Kholwa emandleni onawo.
Oh my, we're finally doing this. What does EYL Africa represent? It's about standing in your power. It's about, in isiZulu, it's Kholwa emandleni onawo, which is our tagline. You will see it on the back of my t-shirts. It's about believing in the power that you have, believing in the power that your God, your guides have invested in you. Shop our socks, shop our t-shirt, and just keep believing in yourself. EYL Africa.
Now available on EYLshop.Africa.